Did you know that behind Roy Orbison's dark sunglasses and angelic voice lay one of the most heartbreaking stories in music history? To millions, Orbison was the man who gave us "Oh, Pretty Woman," "Crying," and "Only the Lonely," songs that captured raw human emotion like no other. But the truth of his life, the tragedies he endured, and the shocking mystery surrounding his death paint a far darker picture than fans ever suspected. Even decades later, new revelations shed light on the pain he carried in silence. And what we know today will change the way you see him forever. Roy Kelton Orbison was born in Vernon, Texas, in 1936, in the middle of the Great Depression. His family struggled financially, but young Roy found joy in music. At age 6, he received his first guitar, a gift that would shape his destiny. By the time he was a teenager, Orbison had developed a voice unlike anything anyone had heard, rich, emotional, and capable of soaring falsettos that gave listeners goosebumps. Yet his quiet personality contrasted with his powerful vocals. Roy was shy, almost painfully introverted, and he often preferred staying in the shadows rather than demanding attention. The dark glasses, which would later become his signature look, were originally worn because of poor eyesight, but they had an unintended effect. They made him appear mysterious, even untouchable. And thus, the mystery of Roy Orbison began to take root long before fame ever found him. In the early 1950s, Orbison joined a local band called the Wink Westerners. They performed covers of country and rockabilly songs, drawing in local crowds with Roy's unmatched voice. Eventually, they renamed themselves the Teen Kings and caught the attention of Sun Records, home to legends like Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash. This was Orbison's first step into the world of professional music. But while Elvis embodied rebellion and charisma, Orbison was different. He didn't dance across the stage or command with swagger. He sang with soul, with vulnerability, and with heartache. His early singles didn't immediately top the charts, but his persistence and unique style began carving out a niche. Still, Roy's career in these years was an uphill battle, full of rejections and doubts. His voice was powerful, but some critics dismissed him as too different for mainstream success. Roy Orbison's life changed in 1960 with the release of Only the Lonely. The song was a haunting ballad unlike anything on the radio. Listeners were captivated by its operatic style, its emotional depth, and Roy's ability to make heartbreak sound both devastating and beautiful. Suddenly, the shy Texan in sunglasses was a superstar. More hits followed, Running Scared, Crying, In Dreams, and eventually the global phenomenon Oh, Pretty Woman in 1964. Orbison became one of the biggest stars in the world, performing to sold-out audiences and influencing a generation of musicians. Even the Beatles and the Rolling Stones admitted they were in awe of his voice. But success couldn't erase the struggles brewing beneath the surface. While his career skyrocketed, his personal life was on a collision course with tragedy. Roy Orbison married Claudette Frady in 1957, and she quickly became the love of his life. But their marriage was far from perfect. Roy's grueling touring schedule and Claudette's loneliness at home created cracks in their relationship. Rumors of infidelity swirled, and the couple separated for a time before reconciling. Their story was filled with passion, but also with turbulence. Tragedy struck in 1966 when Claudette was killed in a motorcycle accident while riding with Roy. She was only 25 years old. The loss devastated him, leaving scars that never truly healed. As if fate hadn't punished him enough, just 2 years later, a fire consumed Roy's Tennessee home while he was on tour, killing his 2 eldest sons. Within a span of years, Orbison went from the heights of fame to enduring some of the most unimaginable losses a person could suffer. While the world saw Orbison as a legend, few knew the extent of his suffering. He was a man who carried grief silently, channeling it into his music. Songs like Crying and It's Over weren't just performances, they were reflections of his own pain. Those close to him recalled that he rarely spoke about his tragedies. Instead, he let his haunting voice do the talking. Orbison's health also began to suffer. He had struggled with poor eyesight since childhood, and his shyness often led people to misunderstand him. Some thought his dark demeanor was an act, but it was, in truth, the armor he used to protect himself from the world. Behind the sunglasses was a man who had endured more sorrow than most people could imagine. And yet he still stood on stage, night after night, singing with raw honesty. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, the music world was changing rapidly. The rise of psychedelia, hard rock, and new genres pushed Orbison's operatic style to the sidelines. His records no longer topped the charts, and his fame seemed to dim. For a man who had once been compared to Elvis, this decline was hard to bear. Still, Roy never gave up. He continued to tour internationally, especially in Europe, where he retained a loyal following. Yet the lack of mainstream recognition in America weighed on him. It was during this period that the mystery of Roy Orbison deepened. Why had such a gifted artist, with one of the most iconic voices in history, slipped into the shadows of obscurity? In the 1980s, something remarkable happened. A new generation of artists rediscovered Roy Orbison, praising him as a genius who had been ahead of his time. David Lynch used in Dreams in his 1986 film Blue Velvet, reintroducing Orbison's music to younger audiences. Suddenly he was cool again, and people began to recognize his unmatched artistry. This resurgence led to the Traveling Wilburys, a supergroup featuring Orbison alongside George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, and Jeff Lynne. Their collaboration was a triumph, reminding the world that Orbison was not just a relic of the past but a living legend. For the first time in years, Roy seemed to be enjoying life again. The man who had endured so much heartbreak was finally smiling. In December 1988, tragedy struck once again. At just 52 years old, Roy Orbison died suddenly of a heart attack at his mother's home in Tennessee. The news shocked the music world. Fans couldn't believe that after such a powerful comeback, his life was cut short so abruptly. Rumors immediately swirled about the circumstances of his death. Some suggested overwork, others hinted at undiagnosed heart issues. Later reports confirmed that Orbison had a family history of cardiac problems and had ignored warning signs. But what truly haunted fans was the timing. He had just finished recording what many believed would be the greatest chapter of his career. His album Mystery Girl was released posthumously in 1989, leaving fans to wonder what more he could have accomplished. Mystery Girl became a massive success, with the single You Got It climbing charts worldwide. The bittersweet reality was that Orbison was finally achieving the recognition he deserved, after he was gone. The album showcased a man who still had so much left to give, leaving fans devastated at what could have been. Over the years, his music has only grown in influence. Countless artists, from Bruce Springsteen to Bono, have cited Orbison as an inspiration. His songs remain timeless, his voice unmatched. And yet, the tragedy of his untimely death lingers. Fans couldn't help but ask, why didn't he take better care of himself? Why was such a rare talent taken so soon? These unanswered questions deepened the mystery surrounding his legacy. While Orbison seemed gentle and humble, fame often came with pressures he despised. He wasn't built for the spotlight. His personality was too introverted, his heart too sensitive. The constant touring, interviews, and demands of celebrity life wore him down. Some believe the very nature of fame contributed to his stress and early death. The sunglasses, which became his trademark, were also symbolic. They weren't just for his eyesight, they were a barrier between himself and the world. Fans loved the mystery of Roy Orbison, but the reality was that he was hiding his pain, hiding his grief, hiding his vulnerability. In many ways, the Roy Orbison mystery wasn't solved until after his death, when people finally understood how much he had endured in silence. In the years since his passing, documentaries, biographies, and family interviews have revealed more about the man behind the music. His children have spoken candidly about the tragedies he endured, and about the toll they took on him. They describe a father who loved deeply but was often consumed by sorrow. As of 2025, new generations continue to discover Orbison through streaming platforms, tribute concerts, and even hologram tours. While these keep his legacy alive, they also reopen questions about the price he paid for fame. The mystery of Roy Orbison isn't just about how he died, it's about how he lived, how he loved, and how he carried unimaginable pain without ever letting it destroy his art. Today, Roy Orbison's legacy remains as powerful as ever. His songs are still played on radios worldwide, his influence is woven into the fabric of rock, country, and pop music, and his image, dark glasses, quiet presence, angelic voice, remains iconic. But his story is also a cautionary tale about the hidden costs of fame and the fragility of life. The tragedy of Roy Orbison is that he gave so much of himself to the world, yet carried his heaviest burdens alone. The mystery of his life, why he suffered so deeply, why he seemed destined for heartbreak, why he left us so soon, has finally been pieced together. And the truth isn't good. But through the pain, Roy Orbison left us something eternal, music that reminds us of both the beauty and the heartbreak of being human.